Hi everyone, this is Jayesh, and we have three other software developers from the team Incubite. We have Meet Soni, we have Sapan Parik, and we have Abhishek Kesari. This discussion is a follow-up continuation of the previous topic that we discussed about AI in onboarding, and the whole series is about using AI in the software development process. This time we took a slightly different approach, tried to understand what our peers feel about the core challenges when it comes to implementing AI in software development, and context seemed to be dominating the plethora of issues that they feel. And me, as a non-technical person, context means domain context or else technical context. But I would like to ask Sapan or Abhishek, any one of you can take it about explaining the domain context first, and then we can discuss about what do we mean by technical context. Abhishek, would you like to explain about the domain context?
Yeah. So when I hear something like domain context, right, it is not just about the problem that we are trying to solve, but also all of the other intricacies that come along with it. So if you think of, let's say, you want to build a healthcare app, just knowing that, hey, I want to build something to help doctors is not enough. You actually have to know all of the details, how healthcare works, how provider work, how patients visit, all of that. So this bit of context is what I understand when I hear something like domain context. Sapan, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think so. There are two, three things. One is, of course, domain context, but as you work on something, what happens is that you end up making more and more decisions based on your past experiences or past decisions that you've been making. What it means is, hey, I'm using Supabase. If I am using Supabase, then I'm using edge functions. If I'm using edge functions, it does not support, let's say, event-driven development in a certain way. So what ends up happening is there's a series of decisions that you're making, and that's also context for you. Now, what's happening is one of the things is that there's a spectrum of software developers who are working with AI to do software development, and that spectrum is like, hey, I'm using AI to do all my development. To someone I talked to yesterday who said that I use Perplexity to do software development. So when you're using discrete tools like Perplexity, ChatGPT, I think, of course, ChatGPT is not going to know any context because every query almost feels like a new Google query, and how Google does not know why you are asking something, ChatGPT won't know why you are asking something as well. And you're also solving small problems when you're using tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity to do coding. And I think that's why I think one of the tools that I personally use is Claude. And of course, there's everyone has their own personal favorites. A lot of people at Incubate use Cursor or VS Code, but for me, Claude trumps them all. And I think I really love it, first of all, because it has this amazing way, and I think it is to build context. You start with something, and first thing that you do is it writes these some sort of smart regexes to go through your files. So before even you get started, it can actually read different files. If you're in a legacy code, it can sort of get the context of where does it stand, just like a new software developer. And of course, there are other files also that you can configure, and maybe we should have a look at it a little bit later, how you could use AI to sort of deliberately create context in it. But yeah, I love Claude. I don't know if and maybe what we can do is in a few steps we can use Claude to see how we can build context while working on a software uh, project. But I'm not sure if everyone's using Claude over here or not. Abhishek, are you also a Claude user or
Yep. I use
Claude it is?
and I love Claude. My reasons are a little bit different. One of them, of course, being Claude being a CLI tool, and if you know about my work, I do everything there. So yeah, that's one of the reasons, and also the quality of responses for software development. Claude
Right.
I've found to be the best.
And actually, for everyone viewing the video, I think by Claude we mean Claude Code, which is a CLI tool. I also personally love it a lot because it's in CLI. CLI has a certain level of simplicity. Plus, you also feel like, oh, you're a super user of something because simply you're using it from your iTerm or ZSH on your Mac. So it just feels so much nicer. Cursor is for newbies. Meet, talking of cursor, which ID do you use?
So yeah, same. I'm a lover of cursor. I
That's
personally
really good.
prefer it because of its uh, development features like plan mode and run commands and rules. So that did it help a lot while doing development.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. Uh, but to talk, maybe we can maybe do a little bit of a 10-minute coding session just to talk about how context would work in the world of AI. And if you're using a tool like Cursor is equally good. I was joking earlier, but the Beat Cursor or Beat Claude, I think these techniques typically work over there. And I think, Meet, you mentioned plan mode earlier, right? Cursor also has a plan mode. So does Claude Code. And it'd be nice to actually maybe think about an example project. And I think, uh, just imagine you were a client and we had team of three developers were working on your project. What would you have in on top of your head? What kind of product would you want to make?
Thanks, Sapan, for giving me that opportunity. So I think being uh, a business person or a guy with business education, I typically tend to start with a use case, right? I mean, domain context or a user helping context is what matters to be more. So, and having a little bit of expertise in marketing, I would go for taking a shot at building a go-to-market engine. And when I say building a go-to-market engine, this is typically for B2B SaaS companies, because B2B SaaS companies, they perform very differently than D2C brands. You can't pop up every time on someone's screen and expect to make a sale. That's not how it happens. There are multiple channels at work here. For example, press release is one channel. We go to events and conferences, pre-event, post-event activities. Those are a separate channel. We run LinkedIn ads, a completely new channel. We run enriched sales enablement pipelines through platforms like Dripify or Clay or Apollo. Again, this is not an endorsement, these are just examples. So all of these have to be combined under a particular roof. And as a sole marketing person, I would love to see the performance of each individual channel on a single dashboard. And so far I haven't found out any platform or any individual able to do that, because it is a complex thing to achieve. Each platform has their own algorithms. Each platform promotes a specific set of or a specific format of content that it pushes out. The target audience needs to be modified. So considering the complexity, I am really curious to understand from a developer's point of view, how would the development team take about tackling this challenge, or what will be the questions that you would want me to answer that will help you in drawing up the prototype or bringing up a vibe coded version of it.
So I think there are a few things, and thanks a lot for asking about uh, what would we want from you. But a lot of time when we think about AI, we think about AI as a coding tool. But AI is also a great brainstorming partner, is a great, PRD, product requirement documentation creator, or spec creator. Actually, one of the things that I do is just that, which is I create product specs first. And maybe that's where my context is always there, be it my project, be it a ticket I am fixing, or whatever I may be doing. We actually I start with sort of a brainstorming. So I think I love, and I'm going to my command prompt, you must be able to see it, and I'm going to write Claude just to start my Claude Code session. Now, what I typically do is you're going to see just only one side of it because we are not uh, uh, yet coding. But what I do is I connect it with my IDE as well. So if I have IDE open, it does tell me, do you want to connect it with an IDE that is open for the same directory? So it can, my coding environment can be on one side of the screen and Claude on the other side of the screen. I'm not going to do it right now because there is no code. And what do you do when there is no code? Maybe you do exactly what you just said. You can say, help me think about a product that performance of
Content
Multi-channel
across,
marketing.
yeah, multi-channel
different
content.
channel.
Yeah.
We plan as a marketing head, we plan to this one as a content manager, we want to post content on multiple channels. As a marketing head, we want to see how each post slash content may be performing. Do not write code. And now this is one of the common things that I do. I just specifically say, do not write code. Just think about this product. What should be the top features, right? So now suddenly we are chatting with a friend of ours that, hey, what do you think? And because a lot of startups also that we work with, right? They are like this. They don't even. Sometimes a startup comes and if we ask them that, hey, do you have like a A4 size paper about your idea? Sometimes they don't even have a idea as concrete such that you can fill a A4 size paper with the idea. So people have these ideas, but it's not yet concrete. It's not yet well defined. You can use AI to do that too. Now I'm doing it in a coding editor. Just you can do it, of course, in ChatGPT or any other tool, just to sort of brainstorm with it. But see, look at this. Here are the features that it's saying you should have, and it's saying it also created priorities for it. So it's saying single content creation with format for per channel, multi-channel scheduler, content calendar, template library, approval workflows, cross-channel performance dashboard, content performance analytics, channel specific. Right, so now it's actually talking about all these channels and A/B testing, which I remember you mentioned earlier, but we didn't put it in our prompt, and it's now actually saying that we should do A/B testing as well. So it not only understood our idea, it expanded it too. Now this is where I think we also have to keep telling it over and over again that, hey, it sounds like a great idea, but this is just far too much work. So because one of the value addition that we should have is like always, and this is now our way of working. So this is a different kind of context, right? So I can say I want or I have or prefer working with MVP mindset in smaller, useful, deployable iterations. What do you think should be order of features we create, and which are absolutely required? Now, once again, I'm just winging it as we go right now. I sometimes I start with this and I do like half an hour, 1 hour of just chatting with it. But circling back to the context problem, what ends up happening is that by just chatting and not writing code, you're giving the chat context. You're telling it that this was the idea. I like these ideas. How about we don't focus on, what we asked, how do you find this idea? And it gave us like 10 different things that we need to work on it. And each one of them could be like a one large item. We haven't read it. But typically, what we want to do is we want to get from 10 things to one thing that we can work on, and that one thing that we can deliver as well, right? So let's see what it is saying now. It's saying that maybe most probably it ordered all the everything over here. See, and it's saying, yeah, let's do user authentication, connect one channel at least, create a text post with an image. See, and now suddenly we started with something that was such a huge idea that became something actionable. Can we create an authentication system? It's one thing that we can work on. Can we create one channel? Can we create one post and we start working on it? And as we do, right? Now I'm going to do last thing, and I think maybe Josh, you may have other questions. What I do is, again, for the sake of context, I typically say that I love your ideas. And I don't know why I do it. I actually tell my AI also, I love the ideas and you are great. But you can keep doing this. That I love your ideas. How about we put it
It will do the
in
same for your ideas then.
as well, right? It's gonna tell me that, oh, wonderful idea. I actually, it may have done that. Excellent
Excellent mindset.
mindset, right? And I think that's one of the biggest difference between real developer and AI developer, right? The AI developer will always say, wow, what a great idea. But yeah, I love your ideas. How about we put it in specs folder? Let's create an initial PRD with high level roadmap, let's say. So now there's a reason why I'm doing this, right? This folder did not have any directories when we start, subdirectories or any files when we started. By putting a file in a specs folder, now I'm going to start creating context for it, right? So it's, see, now it is saying create a directory called specs. I'm going to say yes, and it will write a document over here. But because of this, what happens is that every single time, so first thing, create documents, markdown files, put it in the project directory itself. So every single time when you start, go to that project directory and tell AI to open up, most probably it will read these files and it will start learning from those files. So not only it now already knows about this file, there's one more command that you can say is init. As soon as you say init, it will create a claude.md file and it will create a documentation for it. Now we have not written any code, so I will wait for it for some, I'll wait before I would create a claude.md file because I want to give other context as well. But yeah, while it is going on, I wonder if you have any other questions, Jayesh.
Sapan, honestly, I'm just amazed to see what happens in the back end. How does a developer think? So it's really intriguing to, get in the minds of a developer and to see how things get processed from that perspective. And I'm just waiting to see, how it translates into an MVP, or what are the features that we see as the output of this exercise. And as a business person, again, from the business perspective, ultimately the ROI, what is the time that we are saving, what is the money that we are saving, is what matters at the end. So, considering the speed at which we are executing each of the processes in the entire ideation to prototyping phase, I think that is absolutely amazing to see. And
Yeah. So this is the file that it created. What are the success metrics? Now, of course, we are on this call, so we are sort of, letting it go. But when we are working on a project like this, we would go through, even iterate through this file more than once, and we will sort of remove a few things, we'll keep a few things, we'll go into details. A lot of time I get started with something like this, but then say, let's pick up user authentication. And then I would dive deeper and make sure that we are making adjustments as we go. So nothing, even this document doesn't remain like the final document. Everything evolves as we go.
I just thought of one question. How are we ensuring that we are staying within the guardrails of context? And when we talk about context, how do we set the guardrails around the, whether it is domain context or technical context? Do we just rely
Oh,
on
you're
the
right.
prompts
So
that
I
we
think this
give?
is, no, you're right, actually. This, what we looked at right now is domain context. We just talked about your idea and we documented the idea. Uh, this does not guarantee that when we write code, it will be nice, or it does not guarantee that when we create a project, it will be in the right technologies. Right now, we built a context. We told AI what our idea is about. And of course, we started with a greenfield project and we just did this. I think if there was a takeaway, then that takeaway is, don't think your text files are useless or your PRDs are useless. The idea is that if you had a text, you could very well have had a PRD that's written by a human being. I think idea is that we almost create these silos, that PRD will remain with product manager and developer will keep the code. Don't do that. Put that PRD, convert it to markdown simple text file, put it in your source code repository, and that's how you are giving AI the context. Now, when the AI starts, you're gonna, either AI will read it itself. If it doesn't, just tell it that read this PRD. This is what the project is about. You can even say, so yesterday when I was starting with a project, I had to create a UI and I wanted to make sure that the UI color scheme is as per the brand guideline of the client. So I think also in the same code repository, but just not PRD, even marketing. And I was actually talking about this, that, I was creating a mock-up for a prospect yesterday. And when I was creating a mock-up, what I did was I took the website of the prospect, put it in Claude Code, and I just said use this brand guideline to create the mockup that I have. So I can actually over here also say I don't have to, but you can always write that use the when you are making the UI, you can always tell that. But I was also then saying that, hey Abhishek, you have been doing a lot of coding, and I think Jayesh brings a good point that what about coding guidelines or guardrails or sort of technical context as well? This was business context. Is there anything specific that you do?
Yeah. So I do follow something similar to what you did, Sapan, like creating a spec directory, and for me, I just call it docs and keep my information there. Uh, Sometimes for certain reasons, I can't put all the info in my source code repository. So for that, I had written a little MCP server that works with my personal knowledge base and can fetch me all of the best practices that I have created to work with AI. Something very specific to my workflow, but I can do a quick demo and show what does it look like. So I have already my Claude running, and I simply ask it to fetch my note on AI best practices. And it will simply just make a tool call and get me all of the info. This is just one part of it. This is just very basic, very high level things. But one of the things that I also say and I promote while working with AI is to make sure that we are not giving up control to AI. Something that you also touched on, that it might take more time or it might take longer. So yeah, it's just simply going to make a MCP tool call. I think there is some issue with the server right now, but again, it's simply going to make the call and get me the note.
Abhishek, how many MCPs are you working with typically?
So in my day to day, I have at least three. So I do have this note taker, I have Jira, and I have GitHub. Now, based on what kind of work I'm doing, if let's say I'm working with front end, I do have my Figma MCP server set up. If I'm working with, let's say, databases, I have a server that can talk to my local DB and just give me quick queries to run. But yeah, that's basically to fetch context from external tools and my own past knowledge. One common pattern that I did notice, which we were talking about earlier, is when people say AI does not have context. AI will never have context. It is our role, it is the human's role to provide that context to the AI. And then we are still the engineers. AI is the tool that we are using to solve a particular problem. Giving context is just the first part of it, making sure things are going in correct, reviewing each and every change that you're making with it, and not just letting it run wild with with its ideas. I think that would be like absolutely critical guardrail that any dev trying to use AI for any production work should follow.
Actually makes a lot of sense, Abhishek. And I remember when we started hackathon days early this year, our goal was almost like, hey, let's create an application that can connect to a multiple marketing channels, and we'll create one big prompt, give it to our system, and it just, go have a hot coffee, come back, and find it done. Uh, and that has not actually worked. I think what
Yeah.
has actually worked is create a plan like I created. Uh, it's actually quite amazing that, and let me go back. If you look at it, it actually thinks that while it is working with it, it's going to use human estimates. One thing for sure, if you're working with AI, it actually estimates are much faster. Not faster, but your kind of delivery becomes much faster. I don't know if productivity is, because based on where you are doing this work, it may take more or less time. But idea is that you really have to get to a point where at the end of the day you just start with something very simple, and you just say, hey, let's start working with authentication system. And typically I would take this also and break it down into saying, let's look at the core feature phase one. Can we break down the authentication system? What do you think should be the authentication mechanism? How should the, and again, I'll create maybe one more doc, and that doc I would call authentication roadmap or something. And I'll tell that in the doc, keep it in markdown, and all undone things keep unchecked, and we'll check them as we go. So we do one thing at a time, and we keep going on and on, and we do it. But one more thing, Abhishek, you used that. I kind of realized that one thing that at least Claude can do, and I'm not sure maybe Meet Cursor does it or not, but it has a very nice feature of memory. So I can always do hash, and then I can say when coding, make sure we stick with clean coding principle, use SRP, right? Simple code. We care about MVP. We do development, MVP mindset, Yeah, I don't know. So I typically have like this one thing in my memory that says keep these things in mind. And I write SRP, simple code, MVP mindset, iterative development, YAGNI, and I don't even tell it to write test cases and production code together. If I want to write a test case, I say, let's write a test case to do this. And I write one test case. Then I say, tell it to run it and say, let's write the code. So you still tell it. I think one of the things that it has started happening is that a lot of time we spend in just finding things, creating files, going to the right places. So it does that. It writes code very fast and it genuinely allows. Nowadays, my typical command prompt has multiple command prompt windows, and I find myself doing like multiple things while one agent is running. What can the other agent do, and what can the third agent do? So that's one of them. But yeah, this is also a nice way to memorize, in a way, giving context every time you start. Hey, and when I click on it, it'll say that do you want to use it in user memory or project memory? So my user memory already has that. So yeah, that's that. So I think one of the things that we talked about was MCP, and I just want to further a quick summary. And I don't know if Jayesh has used any, but MCPs are the system where one system can talk to another system using this common protocol. So you can buy AI. If you're using an AI system, you can configure a MCP of a non-AI system with it. So you can, you're using Claude Code, Claude or ChatGPT. You can integrate MCP to connect it with your Jira, Linear, file system, or whatnot. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, I think that was that. What else?
Uh,
I think
I
another
wanted to,
use. Go ahead, Meet.
sorry, Abhishek. So, yeah, I wanted to cover two things for those who are using cursor. So, while you are developing anything with the cursor, don't try to build the context in the chat because what happens sometimes in cursor is I'm not sure about Cloud Code terminal, but people do everything in a single chat. So, it might get loses the context as you go on your conversation within the same chat. So try to do like as similar to what Sapan did, generate a file, MVP file, MD file, and then go on to another chat and start building from there. So in that way, it will have better context and will start from a fresh perspective.
I think Cursor has one more thing, which is rules, right? So you can also create rules files and store it. So follow this common, which is I think similar to .claude file, like init file over here.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
On context, a very common problem I have seen with any agent, whether you work with Cursor, Claude, Copilot, is that there they clearly use instruction layering. So whatever you say in the most recent prompt takes precedence. Any of your recent chat takes precedence. Anything older gets overwritten. So a common problem that you will see while you work on a longer session is it might forget your memorize information or it might forget your rules file. A useful thing I always keep handy is just like a slash command that will simply just repeat, let's say, the line that Sapan demoed for us on the prompt, right? Just to get Claude back on track. And this saves you a bunch of time manually trying to go and fix those things or tell it that, hey, this is not following SRP or this is not following clean code. But yeah, that would be something that you might encounter when you work on something longer.
Actually, that is one other thing that almost most IDEs have now come up with these shortcuts where you can do slash and some command. So a big prompt can be, created as a command and you can shoot it. So in Cursor, you can do slash and develop. Cursor allows you to create agents also nowadays. I don't know what's the underlying difference. I'm sure, sorry, Claude does that. I'm sure Cursor also allows that. So
Well, so I have a concluding question for you guys. So, if you are a founder or a CTO and you have to manage, or for example, any manager who is managing a junior team of engineers and who are extremely curious about the use of AI, they want to use it, but somehow something is stopping them. Probably they're not getting the right output. Uh, they're not very confident with the prompt engineering aspect. So, how do we create one or two guidelines for them from each of you? That okay, use this to make sure that your agent or the MVP that we're building is having the accurate context. What is the one thing that you would like to advise to the budding AI engineers?
I have
I
a
would,
thought, but I will let Abhishek and me go first, maybe.
yeah, I would say like start small, like build things incrementally, break things to a unit level, and then actually start writing code and not let any tool just start it from the beginning and just go crazy with your idea, right? That will definitely not get you in the right direction. So you will move a little bit slower, but your quality of output will be better. Another cautionary tale here I would mention is AI is not going to solve human ingenuity, right? You still need the human software engineering skills. You still need to understand how software works. So if you don't know something, I mean, AI is a great partner to learn things with. But yeah, do not expect that it will solve your scalability problems or your that one crazy bug that you have not been able to solve. So yeah, keeping expectations in check is also important.
Yeah, for me, like using modern IDE features like in plan mode in cursor can be found to be very useful. So even if you are developing a small feature, don't just directly go in chat and tell it to develop. Go to the plan mode, create a plan, verify it very carefully, and the instruction that it will create in the plan mode will be like very specific, and after your manual verification the chances of having mistakes and generating slop will be very, very less, and you can get your work done in minutes that can take hours.
Agreed. Agreed. I think I have stopped using plan mode, by the way, since I started using Claude, because plan mode still executes everything together once you have planned it. I still try to create shorten in this. But getting back to your question, Jayesh, this is how I would put it. At the end of the day, AI is a very fast code writer, something that generates code generator, right? But at the end of the day, the code or the system or the design that will come out will be created. The design that will be created. AI is reflection of us. So AI is reflection of humans in general with all the biases that we have had so far, but also reflection of the person who was sort of driving that session with AI. So at the end of the day, I think what's going to matter is read a lot. Read a lot means literally all developers should now focus a lot in reading, and reading in two contexts. First context is just read books. I mean, if a developer doesn't know that I prefer SRP, if developer doesn't know what single responsibility principle is, then how would they even put it in the prompt that I care about SRP? So essentially, not having knowledge would simply means you don't care about those things, which means you're not going to tell AI, these are the guardrails that you were talking about earlier. These are the, how do you tell what to follow? At the end of the day, AI is like a smart intern who you will have to give, who will need uh, structured instructions, what to do, what not to do, how to do something. So I think we just have to sort of, humans, we will have to make sure that we are pursuing knowledge a lot so that we can apply it. Where I think application has become easy, but judgment of where to apply it has become more important now, right? So that's one thing that we'll have to remember. But also reading in the sense, Meet talked about plan mode. You saw in my command prompt, I wrote something and there's a huge document that got generated. I think all developers, all software developers are always, they have associated themselves with writing so much code. But I think it's about time where they associate with reading so many things. So AI will be creating these large summaries of plans or action items or to-dos, and we will have to read each one of them and then make sure whether we want to do it or we don't want to do it. Actually, one of the biggest reasons we can do successful AI demos or AI sessions is that the time between two commands is so much that it literally gets boring because we have to read the entire document. Uh, right. But yeah, so for me, I think takeaway would be, as far as the context is concerned, make sure that you're generating the context, but be a good reader. So domain side, you're reading your PRDs, you're reading your tickets, acceptance criteria very carefully, because that will be driving how the software is created. And from the tech side, you should be on this endless pursuit of continuous improvement and continuous learning so that you can apply it. And now applying just would mean telling AI to do it and then keeping an eye and making sure that you're doing the right audits. But yeah, that's that. Great question, Yash. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you so much, Abhishek, Sapan, and Meet. So for me, I would like to just say that one takeaway, key takeaway from this discussion was the spike in curiosity about learning tech more and more. I mean, I have an engineering background, but then I pivoted towards management and business. But this again, it's like coming to a full circle. So I think the next step for me would be just figuring out how can I create that platform, or at least reach one step further in creating that platform, and figuring out what would be the next step. So I think the end goal is about spiking that curiosity in the right direction, and this is I think this was one of the main goals of this discussion. So thank you, everyone. We will be continuing the further discussions about AI in development. We'll be running quick surveys. Most welcome to put in your thoughts, and we'll definitely be covering the key aspects that we receive from all of you. And do not forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayesh.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.